Hi, I'm Mr. Morris and want to give a little overview of what to expect in honors chemistry this trimester and this year. So, honors chemistry is going to cover the same content as any first year chemistry class, but we've designed honors chemistry to really be focused on data analysis, process skills, and problem solving to get students involved in the learning of the content, not just memorizing specific facts and figures for later. So we try to have a lot of active learning, a lot of interactive learning, and we're super happy to be back in person 5 days a week to be able to maximize our time. So, what you'll see and what the students will see when they look at a week in honors chemistry is a schedule like this. Up at the top, we're going to give an overview of what topic we're covering, as well as the connections to the online book. We do have an online textbook, but it's not something that students are necessarily expected to read or engage with regularly. But it is an added resource they can look at another time. Right here is the focus of the week. What are some of the main things and skills that we are trying to build so that by the end of the week, students are able to do these? But really, what we want to look at is kind of our day to day. So, on our calendar, students will very clearly know what's due and whether it's due at the beginning of class or due that night. They would be able to see what we do in class, a lot of times notes and activities. And you see here, we've got the answer keys and completed versions of those a lot because it's not just about getting through a worksheet, it's about making sure that you understand it. So we want resources that students can look back at later. A lot of our homework is going to be online. Last year, but even before that, we were using different online resources to give students the practice and multiple attempts at assignments to really show mastery. So, one of the tools we use is tied to our online book. It's called Mastering Chemistry, and students have usernames and passwords for that, and they're going to see a variety of assignments there. Another thing that we're using a lot is Canvas assignments. Many of those would be called learning activities. Learning activities are where we are doing our first set of practice with a skill. We talked about density in class, for example, this week, and then we had a learning activity over that. That activity is something students can do as many times as they need to get those skills down, to get to the level of mastery and performance that they are comfortable with. We hope that after 1 to 2 attempts, a student feels pretty good about that and has a score that they're happy with. But if a student feels like they need more time, more attempts, or they realize what they did wrong, they can go back and do another attempt and improve their grade. Although we do have due dates on those, they're often set up, and as of right now, always set up so that a student can come back and do that later to kind of show that they've mastered that skill. Another thing that we'll see, we don't have any this week, but we had one at the end of last week, were quizzes. Quizzes come up after we have learned and practiced skills a few times. We've done it in class. We might have had a learning activity or a mastering chemistry assignment app about it, or talked about it 2 or 3 days in class. A quiz is where we want to have a bigger check in. It's not necessarily that much longer, but on that quiz, students would be limited in their number of attempts. It's normally going to be 2 or 3 attempts, still recognizing that it might take more than one attempt to show how well you know a topic. With many of these, they're going to get a different combination of questions, maybe for a calculation, slightly different numbers, so that they can really practice it rather than just finding the answers and moving on. All of that leads up to tests. We will have a test that will be mostly in school, maybe online or on paper, or a combination of those. But that would be every few weeks after we have done our learning activities, after we've done our quizzes, both with multiple attempts for the kids to build up those skills. Excited to have a good, solid foundation and a good plan for core this year for students to be able to come in up to 3 days a week when they need a little bit of extra help, when they want a place to work with some support, or they want a place to collaborate with their peers outside the classroom or beyond our classroom time to either work on these assignments or to just get that extra little help. We do our best to have in class time set aside to ask and answer questions to start some of these assignments. But in honors chemistry, students will see fairly regularly some homework where they're just getting that next practice to kind of master a skill and feel really confident on it. When a student needs to go back to a topic from an earlier week, I've got the previous weeks linked down here, and they can also be found right here. Right there, we've got the information on how to log on to the online textbook as well as the syllabus. Here is a link to my email address, my phone number, and some YouTube pages that we have found are really helpful for students. As students are navigating through, if they don't see an assignment here or don't see it right here as coming up for whatever reason, they could also find it under the assignments or quizzes tab, and keep students can stay on top of how well they've done on something and look back at previous attempts by going to grades. A big goal of the multiple attempts is to be able to look back at a previous attempt, see what they did right, recognize which ones they didn't do right, and use that to improve on the next one. So we really want those previous attempts and the multiple attempts to be a big part of the process of learning. So I think that those are many of the major things there. Obviously, I'm here whether we to answer questions for both the student and the teacher, and you can reach me via email. You'd find that link right there, or phone number, which you'd find right in this section as well. So hopefully that gives you a little of an idea of what to expect, and whether it's a question about honors chemistry or a question about what class might come next. Don't be shy to reach out, get it clarified, and help set the stage for as much success as possible this year and beyond.